As I said in the previous slide, Columbus never reaches the New World in terms of the mainland. He doesn't step foot in anything like North America or South America. Instead, he stays on the islands. And it's going to be up to the other Spanish explorers that are going to do that for Spain. But when it comes to the exploration of the seas by the Spanish, it's going to follow the same pattern. They're going to be looking for things. They're going to be looking for things, for example, like gold, or and allegedly the fountain of youth. And then another pattern that's going to unfortunately happen is that the native populations are going to be devastated by European diseases. And we'll talk more about that in a future slide. But nonetheless, if you were to boil down, if you were to take Spanish exploration and boil it down into just three little words, historians would call it the three G's: gold, God, and glory. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Gold, obviously, that's kind of obvious. It's going to be the stuff that we all love, gold. It's a precious metal, and it's not just gold for for Spain, even though they definitely want it. It's also gold for yourself. Keep in mind, many of the guys that are coming over here, many of these conquistadors, as they call them, they're showing up. A lot of these guys, they're second-born sons or third-born sons. They're not the primary heir of their families. This is a time period that we see primogeniture, the notion that you're going to give everything to your eldest son. And the reason for it is simple. Noble families, they're not wealthy because of their industry, of what they personally do. They're wealthy because people live on their lands. And the one way in order that you want to guarantee to undermine your family's wealth is by dividing up your land amongst your children. And so when you have when your parents die, if you're the firstborn male, you get everything. You get the title, the house, the lands, most importantly, the people that are working on your lands and paying you rent and whatnot. That's where a noble family's income comes from. But nonetheless, so a lot of these guys, they're showing up and they're not firstborn sons. They don't have any hope of getting any sort of inheritance from their parents because their elder brother's going to do it. We see that today, particularly when it comes to the heir of the English throne. We all know Prince Charles, the Queen Elizabeth's eldest son, but I would challenge you, name any of the other children of Queen Elizabeth II. It's going to be very hard to do so. She has more than one child, and Charles is not just the only one. So a lot of these people are coming over in order to get gold for Spain, but also to get wealthy for themselves. So that's gold. God. These guys are heavily involved when it came to the Reconquista, a religious war. And so when you have a war that based on religion, you're going to have fanatics. And if there's one thing that the Spanish are fanatical about, it's their support for Catholicism. So so a lot of these guys are going to go over with the motivation to spread Christianity, i.e. Catholicism, to the New World. And so they're going to bring over missionaries as well. And finally, glory. Glory for oneself. After all, you're not going to get glory in Europe because you're not a firstborn son. So your best option is to go and get it through the military. And second-born, third-born sons, they're going to go, noble families, they're going to go two different routes. They're either going to go to the church, they're going to become priests, and hopefully their connections become bishops and even higher, or they're going to go into the military, and they're going to use their family name to achieve military glory on the battlefield. So glory for yourself. You're going to get commands. You're going to get glory through the way you're fighting, where you're fighting, and also glory for Spain because you're doing this all in the name of Spain. And when make sure that when you understand, whenever the book says anything about the Spanish Caribbean, you need to understand which islands we're talking about. We're particularly talking about the islands of Jamaica, Cuba, and Puerto Rico. Now, over time, over the centuries, all of these islands are going, especially Jamaica, is going to change hands numerous times. And in fact, the reason why the Jamaicans speak English is because by the time it's all said and done, the English control Jamaica. But we certainly